Hi, I'm Georgia Jones and welcome to my series Bump, a candid, open and honest look at pregnancy, parenthood and beyond. Bump is brought to you by Ladybird Books and Make Time to Play app. So today I am joined by my very good friend Charlie Barker now, actually. And you might recognise Charlie because she is my personal trainer throughout my pregnancy, and since having Cooper, you are a postnatal and prenatal expert in the world of fitness. When Charlie was 24, she was diagnosed with breast cancer, had an operation to remove a lump.
Yep.
Then at 26, she had another breast lump removed, and then caught MRSA. And then thought you were fighting off an infection, and it turned out she had skin cancer. So you have kind of
story
been through it, haven't you?
Yeah.
You've been dealt a really shitty card, but you have just stayed so positive throughout all of it. You would never know that she's been through such a horrible time of it. So then you married the love of your life, your university sweetheart George, who is lovely, such a lovely man, and you got pregnant.
We got pregnant pretty much straight away, and I thought, oh my god, yes, like my health cards have turned around, and this is where it's going to go well.
Yeah, and this is where my look's going to change.
Yeah, we couldn't believe it. So I felt a bit bad actually, because I know how many people struggle, so I actually didn't really tell people.
Yeah.
Then actually it was about 2.5 weeks later, then I started bleeding, and I know that pregnancy can bring some bleeding, and that's fine, but I instantly was like, I don't like this. I didn't like it at all. So, and then it got heavier and heavier, and actually I rang the doctor and they said, unless it's unbearable pain and bleeding that you literally can't stop, then you can just stay at home. And it was, looking back now, comparing, it was quite easy. It was very sad. Both of us were quite sad.
But you kind of went straight back to trying again.
The doctor said there's no reason to wait. It was a really like a chemical pregnancy, they call it. So it was still just a bunch of cells, and really my body was picking up the hormones, not anything else.
Yeah.
So we just kind of carried on as usual. And then when my period felt like it was coming, there was part of me that thought, I don't know, like these are the same symptoms as I had last time.
Because it's funny, because your period arriving is the really similar symptoms to being pregnant.
Yeah.
So how long after the first miscarriage?
So I didn't have another period. So it was a month later.
Oh my gosh, right.
So honestly,
super
straight
quick.
away. We went for about a week of every day he'd come home. Is it still in there? Yeah, it's still in there. Okay, let's count out what's for dinner, And then we sort of let ourselves get excited, because we thought we're going to be gutted if anything happened anyway. 9 weeks was our scan. And she then scanned me. I remember I was absolutely desperate for the toilet because you have to drink so much water, don't you?
Yeah.
She's like, put the thing on my tummy. I was like, oh God. And she said, there, you are definitely pregnant, but, and George went, it's twins, I knew it. And she said, no, but you're showing a little bit earlier to what you thought you were. And she was completely like just that's fine.
At that point, were you like, did anything?
Yeah, because we hadn't had that much time since the first one. I thought, how much room is there for error? Like, we've only had it, like...
Yeah, your calculations can't be wrong.
Yeah, it can't be that wrong.
Yeah.
You usually date it from the first day of your last period, don't you?
Yeah.
But because the last bleed I had was a miscarriage and not a period, I thought, well, maybe it's off. Maybe the dates are really wrong.
Maybe it is. That does make sense, potentially.
I was doing maths every single day. One day, which I now, looking back, think maybe that was the day everything went wrong, I had a splitting headache all night. I couldn't sleep. Ended up going to my client's house in the morning, who announced to me that she was pregnant finally too. And I said, look, I'm not feeling my best. And she went, me neither. And so it was a big, this is hilarious. We're both like, I need the loo.
Yeah.
I ended up having to rush to her toilet, and I was like really sick. And that was the only time I was actually sick. And at the time I thought that was a great thing, but looking back now, the dates adding up, that was probably when it all went
right.
wrong.
I think your body was a bit like,
it's not right, but we're out. Yeah. So we went back for the scan. When she put the what do you call it, the
ultrasound bit.
on my tummy, she said, well, I can still see a sac, and that's a good sign. And I thought, that is not a good sign.
Yeah.
At this time,
Where's
you're
the
supposed to be
baby?
seeing it wiggling around and
Yeah.
everything. And then she said, I think we'll do an internal scan just to see a bit closer. And I said, is this common? She said, yeah, sometime. You know, I could tell she knew something was wrong, and she was like figuring out how to say it. And then she asked me, do you have a doctor's appointment after this scan? And I thought,
that's a weird question.
you don't need one after this scan. So I thought, no, I don't, but I'll get one because this is going wrong. And I could just see George wasn't following this, you know, his brain wasn't going down the same path as me.
Was he still kind of excited, sat
Looking
there
at
like
the screen.
this is...
Yeah, exactly. I just was like, anyway, then she said, okay, and, you know, I was like, I always wanted to be like, you don't have to tell me, I know. And she said, you know, there's been no progress. And I actually felt like at the time, the ceiling just like fell on me. It felt like a real physical pain in my heart. Yeah, and I felt my heart like sunk into my stomach, and then it didn't come up for weeks and weeks. And then she said, we've got a doctor who's free in half an hour to see you here. And I thought, okay, fine, let's just do it here.
Yeah.
And then we had to sit in the waiting room with all of these pregnant couples. And I just found myself looking out the window, blinking, trying not to cry, because I thought, if I start crying now, it's not going to stop, and I've got to see this doctor.
Yeah, got to be strong. Yeah.
And then this lovely doctor was very sweet, because of course I didn't keep it in. I completely lost it in there, and she just sort of like held my hand and explained everything in a very medical way, just saying, okay, so the options are you can. Your body will do it naturally, but it doesn't seem like it is doing it naturally because you're still pregnant. And I had like a tiny bump, but to me it was like
Is
massive.
there a name for it when your body still thinks...
It's called a missed miscarriage.
Right, it's a missed miscarriage.
So your body's miscarried, but it's been missed. Okay?
So the options were
surgery, your body does it naturally, or they can induce you.
Right.
And like
you would...
Yeah, it's actually really sadly, it's the same sort of thing they do for like an abortion. And I just thought, well, I'm having surgery. That's the only way I'm doing it. And so on Monday, still hadn't heard anything. The hospital called me, and obviously there's no nice way of saying it, but she said, taking some details, how many pregnancies have you had? I said 2, and then she said, and how many alive children do you have? It was like, is there any other way you could ask that question? I don't know, but anyway.
Really.
Anyway, she said, oh, this is so horrible, isn't it? You know, I was like, yes.
What
are we going to do?
Yeah.
Tell
me my options.
She said, we can have a surgery, but it's going to be about 10 days until you can get a slot for anaesthetic. And I was like,
wow,
I can't hold this
Such
inside me for another 10 days.
No.
It had already been 5 days by this point. And I hated it. And I still looked like I was early stage pregnant, you know, and it was just a constant reminder. And then I said, okay. And she said, well, we could do it today if you want, but with no anaesthetic. So and then she said brutally, we'll just clamp open your cervix and just scrape it out.
Is that what she said to you?
Yeah.
Wow.
She said, you can have gas and air if you like. And some people say it's not that painful. And so I said, okay, and is there any other option? And she said, we could do it medically and we can induce you. And she explained it that you'd take some pills and then it would last like about 4 hours, and then stuff would start happening and you'd get contractions and all this kind of thing. And it's a bit of a blur, the whole thing, and I can't really remember why I decided that, but I think it was because I wanted it to happen now.
Yeah.
So that's what we decided to do, and she gave me the pills and some really strong painkillers, which scarily she was like, please take these. I was taking the painkillers and everything, and I thought, it's been about 4 hours, and all of a sudden I was like, I felt the first contraction, and it was like probably like your worst day of your period. I was honestly in pain. I was so desperate for a wee, so I finally thought, I'm going to go. And this first time, I basically had to push because I felt like something was stuck, and something about the size of this came out.
Wow, solid.
And I gasped, more like jelly, kind of.
Yeah.
And I gasped, and I thought, oh my goodness, thank God, it's done.
That's it.
Wow.
And it wasn't as bad as you thought.
Yeah, and I thought, I was like, well done, body. Like, you've done it so quickly, thank you. And then I stayed laying there and watched Friends all afternoon.
Yeah.
And I kept having to go back to the loo, and big clots were coming out, but, nothing like the size of that. And George went down the corridor to brush his teeth, and I thought, okay, I'll go and get in my pyjamas. And as I sat up, I felt a real whoosh. And obviously gravity did something, and I thought, oh, I think I need to go to the toilet again.
Yeah.
And as I was walking to the bathroom, I felt something come out, and I was yelling at him, but obviously he was brushing his teeth, and so he couldn't really hear, and he was la la la. I was like, get out of the bathroom, George. He opened the door, and the sheer panic on my face, he just like let me in.
Yeah.
And I pulled down my
Pants,
and I was like, oh my God, George. And I could see the baby, and it was basically there in my knickers, and he was like right by the door, like, oh my God. And I said, do you want to see it? And he said no. And it didn't look like a baby with arms and legs, but you could see a head, and it was in a sack, and you could see it was very alien-like, but you could see a face, and you could see, you know.
Could you see a face?
Not eyes, but you could see where they were going to be. So you could see, it was a face basically, and I let it go down. Stop, you're going to make me go. I let it go down, and obviously didn't really sleep that night, like stayed awake, and contractions were still happening. That last one before it came out was the worst one.
And then they were just
they were still happening, and clots were coming out, and all the tissue was still coming out, and I was awake all night, because I don't know, when you're on your period even, you wake up and you think,
you do, yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
like, let's go to the toilet.
Yeah.
So I was in the loo the whole night, and I actually really hated being in there, because that was where it happened. We only have one bathroom in our flat. The contractions lasted altogether about 18 hours.
Wow, so that is a long time.
The next day I was still really sore and heavily bleeding, and I did not know what to do with myself. So basically for the next week I just stayed in my house, and I cried a lot, like uncontrollable crying, like out of the blue. I'd just be making a cup of tea, and it was like, it would come out.
Do you think that's probably like, if anyone else is going through that, would you say just kind of
goodness,
be on your own or with your partner and just grieve?
Yeah,
because you are grieving the loss of a baby.
Go through all the emotions, and I just thought, this is so unfair, and I felt very robbed.
Yeah,
which is probably the best way to describe it.
Well, you're incredible. And I'm very proud of you for all you've achieved and powering through despite everything. But thank you.
We'll have a good news someday.
We will.
We'll have our turn.
I know it. I know.
Yeah.
But thank you.
No, thanks for having me on.
Stop. This is story time with Ladybird Books, and I'm reading Peekaboo. Baby, see the ocean. Guess who? Peekaboo, a bumpy, bubbly octopus. Can you feel? Can you feel that? Oh, you can lift that flap if you want. Look. Peekaboo. Games we think of as being simple, such as Peekaboo, are usually your baby's first experiences of play and communication. Peekaboo allows your little ones to be inquisitive as they start to wonder what is about to surprise them. It also starts to teach them lots of expressions that are used to communicate. Change your expression each time and look for your baby reflecting the expression back at you as they get used to the game. For more ideas and inspiration for playtime, download the Make Time to Play app. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe and tune in the same time next week.